The House is live. You're on C-SPAN.
Freelance journalist David Axe was embedded with NATO troops in southern Afghanistan in June. He was in the area of Tarin Kot, where approximately 3,000 NATO troops from Australia and the Netherlands are based.
Tarin Kot is a city of about 100,000 people in southern Afghanistan, north of Kandahar. It's in an area of the country that's one of the poorest and most sparsely populated in all of Afghanistan, and is considered by the coalition and by local government to be sort of neglected by Kabul. So there's been decades of underinvestment in the province, and as a result, and also as a result of there not being much in the way of NATO forces there for a long time, Tarin Kot and its vicinity have been historically a Taliban stronghold since the war began in 2001. Tarin Kot has only about only a few thousand people who live in the city proper, and most of them live outside in small farms. Tarin Kot lies at the mouth of a valley that sits astride a Taliban supply route that connects Pakistan to Helmand province, which is further south. Helmand province is the major opium center in Afghanistan and is responsible for about 90% of the world's opium production, which is the basis for heroin. And that opium is one of the major economic engines for the Taliban and for international terrorism. So controlling Tarin Kot means controlling the valley, which means controlling that supply line, which means safeguarding the traffic of opium and other illegal goods and people that keep the Taliban resistance and international terrorism going. About a year ago, NATO finally established a major base in the area. It's about 5 miles outside of Tarin Kot. So Tarin Kot, the city, lies between this base, which is called Camp Holland, and the mouth of the valley. Camp Holland has about 3,000 people at it. There are about 2,000 Dutch, 700 Australians, and a mix of other people. There are actually some small American bases in the area as well, but I believe they're mostly special forces, and they keep kind of a low profile. So since the Dutch and Australians moved in last year, they've been slowly expanding from Camp Holland, first into Tarin Kot proper, and then into the outlying areas, including some small villages, and setting up checkpoints and recruiting police and building infrastructure and working with the locals, kind of the ink spot theory that is espoused by the Marines in Iraq, where you start with one little spot that slowly spreads outward, and you sprinkle spots around that major spot, and they eventually spread into one big glob of black, this area that you control. The major military formation at Camp Holland is a Dutch-led provincial reconstruction team. There are 24 of these so-called PRTs in Afghanistan, each one led by one of the contributing nations to either Operation Enduring Freedom or the NATO mission, which is called ISAF, which means International Security Assistance Force. So the Dutch have the one PRT in Tarin Kot with several hundred Australians contributing. There are two major components of the PRT. The Dutch have the sort of lighter portions of it, like the civil affairs people, the linguists, and the cultural specialists, and the public affairs people who do sort of the softer work of reaching out to locals and doing education projects. The Australians contribute a heavy engineer unit that does road construction, bridge construction, earth moving and building the big stuff. So they have like bulldozers and backhoes and things like that. And then to protect the PRT, there's actually quite a large security force, infantry, armored vehicles, artillery, attack helicopters. There are even fighter jets in nearby Kandahar that can come in to support the PRT. Every PRT is different. If it's a dangerous province, the PRT is going to have a lot of security, like the one in around Tarin Kot. Some of the PRTs in the safer areas of the country don't have nearly as much of the heavy firepower and are really just a few guys and a truck. In early June, the Dutch and Australians teamed up to do work at both the boys' school and the girls' school in Tarin Kowt. In Afghanistan, boys and girls are segregated, so they attend different schools. The Australians went in to rebuild a soccer field at a boys' school, while the Dutch went to a nearby girls' school for a meeting of local women. So the Australians went to the boys' school with loads of dirt and dump trucks and earth movers and steamrollers and all of the big heavy equipment you'd need to literally dig up a soccer field and then replace all the earth and smooth it out and put the goals back up and all of that, while the Dutch were nearby shaking hands and delivering speeches and winning hearts and minds. Accomplishing even the simplest of tasks in Tarin Kowt, for instance, getting the Australian construction equipment from the main base at Camp Holland 5 miles down the road to the boys' school in Tarin Kowt requires a kind of an elaborate military operation. You've got helicopters that will fly overhead and aerial drones to keep an eye on things. There's an escort of armed vehicles. The engineer equipment was preceded by an infantry platoon that went into the area and locked it down and patrolled around it and set up a little base so that the engineers would have this this light ring of protection around them when they arrived.
My name's Cliff, and I'm the platoon commander of the security group that's here to guard the engineers for the task we're on at the moment.
So how do you go about that mission?
Well, first of all, we'll come in and we'll clear of personnel the area that's going to be worked in, and then using engineers we'll clear it of any explosive devices, using dogs and the like to ensure that there's no IEDs in the locker area.
And then you have patrols that go out too, right?
Yeah, that's right. We start a patrolling program to ensure that we have standoff from any personnel and vehicles that can pose a threat to us. And then we also have our physical security, the use of wire and the like to support our security. TK is generally considered permissive towards ISAF. However, there's always been the reports that the bazaar, which is just over the road here, is what they consider the black market for the Taliban, where they do a lot of their trading of IED stores and the like. And when you're static for too long in any location, you've got to expect that someone's going to have a crack. It's a counterinsurgency environment.
We're here at Tarin Kowt Boys School. Essentially, as you can see, the recreation facilities are very rudimentary. So what we're doing is we're building up an existing soccer oval just to a level where it doesn't flood. The soccer oval that we have at the moment, it's set very low into the ground, and whenever it rains it floods and the kids are just left with a swamp. On this project there's no work being done at the school, but there are plans in the future to come in and improve some of the facilities in the school, including the windows, tables, desks and chairs. It is a dangerous environment. It's one of the most dangerous environments that Australia's worked in. However, we are fairly well protected. We carry a substantial amount of firepower with us, and as you can see, not only do we have personal body armour, but all the plant equipment and vehicles are armoured as well. The time that it will take for our task group to do their bit will be about 5 days. So we have a contractor arriving in the middle. He may take up to 2 days, which will make it about a 7-day project.